Every tool that you're learning right now, SQL, Python, Tableau, is the reason that you're still stuck. And before you start arguing with me, listen, I have reviewed thousands of career changer portfolios, and the ones that actually get hired are the ones that started with the one tool that you're told to skip. Now, here's what no one's telling you. Every roadmap on YouTube hands you a pile of tools and acts like the longest one wins. Meanwhile, the hiring managers that I actually talk to, they don't care how many tools that you can name. They care whether you can take messy data and find the answer. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to give you the exact order to learn data analytics in, the sequence that makes every new tool take a few weeks instead of a few months, plus 5 things that you can quit doing today, and one thing that you should never ever learn. This one will save you the most time. So don't click off before you get there. All right, so let's get into it. Number one, and this is a part no one starts with. The tools don't make you an analyst. The process does. That's exactly why the order you've been learning in is breaking you. Now think how you actually got here. You typed maybe how to become a data analyst into YouTube, and what came back? Maybe a Python tutorial, a SQL bootcamp ad, a 2-hour Tableau course, all screaming at you at once, all swearing their tool is the one that matters. So you start with that one, and you get halfway, then you feel behind, and you panic, and then you jump to the next one. And for whatever reason, we're calling this learning, but that's not learning. It's just bouncing around. And bouncing between tools feels like progress because you're busy, but busy was never the same thing as building. And the thing is, SQL, Python, Tableau, those aren't skills. They're just tools. And a tool only matters once you know what you're actually doing with it. You can hand someone the most expensive camera on the planet, but if they don't understand lighting, they'll take 1,000 blurry photos and blame the gear. That's exactly what's happening to you with data. You're learning the buttons before you understand the actual work behind it. And the work, the actual thing companies are paying you for, is the analytical process. Taking messy data, ugly data, and turning it into decisions that someone else can act on. That is a whole job in a nutshell. SQL is just a faster way to do part of it. Tableau is just a prettier way to show part of it, but none of them teach you the thinking. They just speed up the thinking that they assume that you already have. So when a business hires you, they're not buying your tool list, they're buying your judgment, your ability to stare at a pile of numbers and say, here's what's actually going on, and here's what we should do about it. And nobody gets promoted for knowing 14 tools. They get promoted for being the person who finds the answer amongst ambiguity. So which tool should you start with first? It's Excel. And I already know some of you are probably thinking, because I thought it too. Excel feels way too simple, way too basic, and just not impressive enough to put on a resume. But that feeling is a trap, because here's what's real. Every single career changer that I've ever worked with have already been exposed to Excel. The truck driver, the teacher, the warehouse worker, the PhD, HR, all of them, but almost none of them had ever opened SQL or Tableau. So when you start with a tool that you already know or even half know, the only thing that you're actually learning is the concepts, not the software. You're already used to the UI. That's the whole part. Now, here's the part that changes everything. Once you can run the full process in Excel, every other tool stops being scary, because every other tool is just doing the same thing with a different interface. A SQL group by, that's really just a pivot table. Conditional formatting in Tableau, you already did that in Excel with a color scale. Python and pandas, that's your Excel formulas, just with a loop running through them a million times. When you know the process, a new tool isn't something necessarily new to learn. It's just a new way to do something that you already understand. And Excel gives you something no tutorial ever will. It makes the work visible. You can watch the duplicate rows vanish when you clean them. You can see the numbers collapse into a summary when you build a pivot. You can watch the whole transformation happen right in front of you, row by row. That visibility actually builds intuition. And intuition is the thing that separates the analyst who finds the answer from the one who still copy and paste code that they can't explain. That's why the analyst who can clean messy data, build a pivot table, run the basic stats, and tell a clear story in Excel is far more ready for the job than someone who just memorized a Python script that they don't understand. One of them can solve a problem, the other one can just recite. And businesses don't pay for people who just memorize stuff. They pay for solutions, because proof is the product, not the tool that you use, the result you got. All right, so let's get specific. Learn Excel is useless advice without the list. So here's a full process that you actually need to own. Starting with data cleaning. This is the most undertaught skill in every bootcamp and course on earth. And it's the first thing the hiring manager wants to test you on to see if you're actually real. Removing duplicates, handling blank cells, standardizing formats, so TX and Texas and a lowercase t in Texas all become the same thing. Trim to kill hidden spaces, that's quietly breaking your formulas, proper to fix casing, find and replace to clean up the mess at scale. Most of your real job is cleaning before you analyze anything. And if you can't clean, you can't analyze, period. Next, the pivot tables. All I need you to hear from me is this one. A pivot table is SQL before SQL exists in your life. Grouping, filtering, aggregations, slicing your data to answer a question. This is a select and group by, just with a drag and drop instead of code. Master the pivot table and you're quietly already learning the single most important concept in SQL. You just don't know it yet. All right, quick pause. Now, if you want to land your first job in data analytics and avoid the lengthy mistakes that I did, click the link in the pinned comment where you can find the exact steps that my students use to land their job in data analytics without going back to school. All right, now let's get back to it. Then statistics. And I don't mean textbook theory that puts you to sleep. I'm talking the real handful that actually pull their weight. Mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and correlation. The skill was never memorizing the formula. It's knowing when to reach for each one and what it's telling you. When does the average lie to you and when does the median tell you the truth? What does it actually mean when two columns move together? That's the judgment a business is paying for. Looking at the numbers and knowing which one to trust. After that, storytelling. Because a chart isn't decoration, it's how you make a busy decision maker understand in 5 seconds what took you 5 hours to find. Picking the right chart for the right question that you're answering. Then write one paragraph, just one, that turns a table of numbers into an insight that a human can act on. That paragraph is the most important thing that you'll ever produce, and no one actually practices it. And finally, put it all together on one full project flow. Raw, messy data goes in, clean analysis comes out, and a clear insight sits on top, start to finish, entirely in Excel before we go anywhere else. Because if you can do that one time, you've done the actual job of a data analyst just in a different tool that you already know how to use. Now, one warning so you don't waste any other time in Excel. Skip macros, skip VBA, skip the advanced financial modeling unless you want to be a financial analyst. That's not the typical data analyst job. That's a completely different one. And chasing it now is just a fancier way to avoid the work that matters. All right, so that's what to learn. Now let's talk about what's quietly stealing your time. The 5 things that you can quit today. And the last one is one that I'll never teach you. Number one, learning Python before you understand aggregation. If you don't already know what a grouped, summarized answer is supposed to look like, you'll write code and have no idea whether the output is right or garbage. You'll burn hours debugging something that you can't debug because you don't even know what the answer should be. So learn the concept first. Then the code becomes easy. Number two, jumping into Tableau before you can even tell a story with a plain Excel chart. The tool was never your bottleneck. Your storytelling was. A fancier dashboard built on a weak story is just a prettier way to confuse people. So fix the story first in a simple tool, and Tableau becomes a weekend of learning. Number three, and here it is, the one that I promised, right joins in SQL. Never use them, never learn them. I'm serious. A right join is just a left join flipped backwards, and a left join reads in the order that your brain already thinks. Every minute that you spend studying right joins is a minute stolen from something that actually matters. So stop learning right joins. Pretend they don't even exist, and then move on with your life. Number four, chasing every shiny new AI tool. Look, AI is a multiplier, but it multiplies what you already have. If you're prompting ChatGPT to write SQL before you understand what the SQL is supposed to do, you can't even tell when it's wrong. You're building on quicksand. Learn the process and AI makes you faster. Skip the process and AI just helps you fail at scale. Number five, certification hopping. The Google cert, the IBM cert, and then the Microsoft cert back to back with not one real project in between. A wall of certificates doesn't prove that you can do the work. It just proves that you can finish a course. And the hard truth underneath all of these, most people use learning as a hiding place. It feels very safe to just take one more course. It feels scary to build one real thing and put it out in the world without handholding. But the scary thing is what gets you hired. Skills are the new currency of freedom, and you don't earn them collecting receipts for courses. You earn them by building things. Okay, so now you know what to cut. Let me give you the exact order that actually works and the one test that tells you when you're ready to move forward. Okay, so obviously you're gonna start with Excel, the full process, cleaning, pivots, stats, storytelling. And here's your first test, the one that I promised you. Do not move on until you can take a raw, messy data set that you've never seen before and turn it into a business insight with nobody helping you. Not a tutorial that you followed along with, a data set that you cracked on your own. The day that you can do that, you're ready. not before. Then your visualization tool, Tableau or Power BI, pick one. And this is the easy part for now because you already know what a good chart looks like and what story it needs to tell. You're not learning design from scratch. You're just learning a faster way to build something that you already picture. Then you go to SQL and watch what happens. It clicks in days, not months, because you already understand aggregation from all those pivot tables. Now you're just learning the words for a thing that you already know how to do. Focus on select, where, group by, and joins. Left only, remember, plus window functions and CTEs, and then datetime manipulation. That's it for now. That's the SQL that gets you hired. And then Python comes last. Not first, last. By the time that you get here, you already understand the data analytics process cold. So Python isn't a scary mountain anymore. It's just automation. It takes the work that you already know how to do by hand and just runs it at scale. Now, I know what it sounds like. It sounds slow, but it's actually the opposite. This is the fastest path here because every tool after Excel can take a couple weeks instead of months when you've actually had the foundation under it. The people rushing, though, they're the ones that are still stuck 2 years later with 15 half finished courses and no job offer. It was never about mastering tools, it was about mastering the thinking. The tool chasers stay stuck because they're just collecting software, but you're building judgment, and judgment is the thing that gets you paid. All right, so let's go back to where we started. The question was never which tool to learn first. The question was whether you understand the analytical process at all, and SQL teaches you that better than anything else on the world. So here's my challenge to you. And I mean today, if you've been bouncing around Python, SQL, and Tableau, and the next shiny AI thing, and nothing is clicking, just stop. Close it all, open one spreadsheet, find one real messy data set, clean it, analyze it, and tell one clear story with it. Do that until it's boring, until it's easy, because the day that's easy is the day everything else falls into place. And you stop being someone who's just learning data and being someone who can actually do it and actually get paid for it. And if you want an idea of a good project to start with, watch this next video here.